So my name is Shane Dillon. I'm a piano player, producer, composer, organizer of events, collaborator. And I studied jazz growing up, and that was really the first music that I really devoted intense attention to and everything. I'm in the jazz department at my school, actually, at New England Conservatory. And so that was my main focus there for a while. Then through that, I kind of got into the hip hop scene in Boston. And I think it's interesting because even though they're different kinds of music for sure, I feel like they're very connected in a way where there are a lot of people in the hip hop world that are inspired by jazz, and then also in the jazz world, a lot of modern jazz is inspired by hip hop. So that was kind of the world that I was into. But I felt like the project that I was kind of pursuing with working with rappers and combining that with jazz instrumentals and live instruments is something that doesn't happen all the time, where it's something that really genuinely fits into both boxes, I feel like. So that's kind of been a style that I've always had, is combining different sorts of things from different places kind of to create something new that's kind of original. Pretty much ever since I've been younger, I remember I used to always be really into things where I'm putting together different groups of people to do some kind of project or whatever. So I think that's something that kind of comes naturally to me. I've been working on, over the past couple of years, this big album where I'm collaborating with a bunch of different people. I feel like in Boston, the different groups of people, different musicians, oftentimes people can be so disconnected from other people going on the scene. And so something I'm really passionate about is bringing together people kind of from different worlds and different music scenes, just for the purpose of kind of creating something in the same room. And so it always gives me a great sense of joy to be able to bring together different people just to create music. I like to create both my own things, and I like to put together my own things where I'm bringing different people into the process, and also work on other people's projects too. I'm a producer too, so I spend a lot of time working on people's tracks. Working on other people's music is challenging sometimes. Sometimes it's hard because you really understand it's their thing, whatever their vision is what you really have to carry out. I think sometimes you have to be you have to understand that everyone has their own artistic vision, and then your job as a producer is to kind of come in, put something in, but also kind of be delicate with it, because you don't want to insert too much of yourself into something that's not your thing to begin with. But at the same time, also you have to put in the right amount where it's you're still doing something creative in the first place. With the concerts in the Boston Common, we've done 4 of them so far, and it's been a really big success.
Truly amaze me. No one that treats me like you do, babe. I'm one that I told you from the start. Can't get you out of my mind. You be in it daily. You truly amaze me.
What are you all doing? It's a Sunday. The sun is shining. Oh my gosh, winter's not here yet. Okay. Getting too excited. Thank you so much, everyone that is here, that is just chilling here. My name is Naledi Masilo, and I'm going to be singing with the Shane Dillon Ensemble.
The rains that New York's far away. First, let's see the West End. I'll show you to my bedroom. I'm liking this American boy. American, take me on a trip. I'd like to go someday. 'Cause I done been beat, I done been tricked. See, I done been shot at, and I done took risks. See, money my main man, but I won't get tricked. And I love my queens, I can't get rich. Resume too solid, resume too long. Don't get cut off, prices on Groupon. Let me live free, let me live strong. One day my song stand, then I live on. Sing like run, baby. I don't feel how I feel today.
I think the most challenging thing about collaborating with people during this time is just it's not always easy to just be in the same room as people, which is sometimes the most important thing that you need, just to get that honest in the moment feedback about whatever it is you're working on. I was kind of lucky for my album because the majority of it actually got recorded before any of the coronavirus happened. It got to the point where we were kind of changing little things in the final details which I was kind of able to work on my own, and that's kind of been what I've been up to. It's been a challenge for sure, and for me, like, I feel like it came at an unfortunate time because I was also like, I was working on the album, and I felt like around the time right before it started in February, I was really like getting on my stride, and really, I was really making big moves on it. And then obviously the thing happened, and then like for a while, it was kind of hard to know what to do and how to rebound from that. I feel like, I mean, to be honest, for part of the summer, I was kind of like down in the dumps a little bit about it and just not being able to collaborate with people as freely as I wanted to. It definitely did open up some other opportunities, and I think just having the time to kind of reflect on things was really useful for me in particular. Music, I think, fits in. It's weird because it kind of fits into, I think, both like the individualist mindset and the thing where it's about other people. Like as a whole, like music really is about like creating something to share with people. So to kind of do that on your own, it's kind of a weird thing, just like inherently, it kind of feels weird. But I think it's an interesting thing too because when you're working on your own, you can really like kind of get in deep with yourself and really kind of reflect on what it is that you're trying to say and get deep into that. And I think that's something valuable.
Take it all away, but right now I can't fight this feeling, 'cause I'm too afraid. Hey, coasting, flowing through the air.
But the thing is that like as a musician, I feel like we're always so driven to think about like, okay, we need to write these songs, create the tracks, produce it, figure out who's going to be on it, make the videos, mix it, master, whatever, and just get it done. And we're always in the mode where it's like more content, more. And I think a challenging thing is to kind of think about like to really sit down and think about like what the music really is and what the point is and why you're actually doing all that. Music is something that I love deeply, but you also have to understand that it's a part of who you are and it's a way you express yourself, but it's not necessarily your entire identity. And that to think that you're like a person and that just music is a part of who you are can be something challenging. And sometimes it really is useful, even just for the purpose of creating more music, to really kind of step away from it for a second and to really just kind of step away and to kind of think about like what's going on in my life, what am I trying to say through this, what's going on, what's been going on, what stories do I have to tell through that. And I think that's what the best music does. And the best music is, that's why sometimes you hear artists that like release an album that's really successful and then for a few years they don't do anything at all. It seems like where they go. But I think that's because like the purpose of music is really about like telling stories, sharing emotions, sharing part of ourselves with people. And sometimes you really need to step away and just kind of experience life for a second before you can really come back and make something else happen. I would say just kind of take what you have and run with it. Like I remember for a while I was kind of like thinking like, I mean, you could think like, who am I to be able to do something like this? I don't know the right people. I don't have enough skills. But I think everyone that does something artistic, you have something, and to really take that something and to kind of like work with it puts you on a unique path, and no one else will ever be on that same path. And I think just like for me, like sometimes you need to think that it's just like, if I don't create this, like who will? It's like you're the only person that's in your unique position with your unique skills and the people you know, and your unique capabilities to really create whatever it is that you want to do. And so my advice would be just like do something and put time into it and invest in like making the final product as amazing as you want it to be. But just put something out there and just have something to work on and just build from there. And the time I think for like evaluating what you do, I always feel like comes after the process of creating. Where when you're creating, it's really about just like having the vision and executing it and getting it down. And then once that's done, you kind of step back and think about like, okay, what am I trying to say to this? What should the next thing be? How can I build off this? How can I do something else? And that's what's really worked out so well for me. Is just being able to do some things and kind of sit back and kind of be like, okay, that was cool. What else could I do? How could I build on that? Which other people could I bring in to be part of the process? And I've been lucky to kind of be able to meet so many amazing people. Like even a couple years ago, I would have thought that I didn't know as many of these people as I do now. But just being able to work on things myself and with other people that really are able to be part of my vision and understand what I'm going for is something I'm really grateful for.
It's two bars in the intro. Yeah. Sorry, I changed that up. All right. And
bars.
We met somebody in Berkeley who had a band. I had actually seen Michael prior playing somewhere, and I thought to myself like, oh man, I really want to like make music with that guy. He's like super good on the drums. And this guy that we both mutually met invited us to the same band without either of us knowing. And then we left that, did his band. I left that, and then we're doing this band.
Yeah, so it's taken on a bunch of different forms and shapes, but we're now solo together. We don't have a typical approach as far as writing goes, but my basis is drumming. That's what I've been doing since I was about 4 years old, and that's what got me into Berkeley. In the last like 4 or 5 years, I've like branched out into synthesizers and guitars and bass. And so, I mean, the majority of our stuff, like we'll start with a seed from him, and then we kind of build off of that, or he'll have like half the track written, and then I just come in on drums and then just kind of pick my input with my synth ear, and yeah, it just kind of takes form on its own.
I'd say for me, consistency is really hard. Like finding, you know, like a sound for several songs in a row. I typically go like out of left field each new track I do. So that's something I've been working on, and I think, you know, to find new sounds, I, you know, go through, you know, artists I like, music I feel inspired by, and like right now that's very much indie rock, psychedelic rock, groove music and funk and soul and stuff like that.
But like right now we have 4 songs that are like right now that we're working on that are so different from another. Like one of them right now is like we sampled my drum kit, so we played each part individually and we spliced them together like an electronic producer, whereas the other songs are like he has one written just on the guitar. So like we're trying to like mesh our love of like dance music, psychedelia, funk, soul, and rock and roll kind of all into one.
During the coronavirus, I think it's very different. I think it's good and bad in a lot of ways. And for me personally, my experience has been that since I took a gap semester from school, I've had a lot of time to write and play and really focus on getting stuff done and recorded. And it's been a lot easier to, you know, schedule sessions with him, to get him to come over, and, you know, albeit it's nerve-wracking and it's different, but in a way I feel like you can also be productive.
The beautiful thing is that we record everything in his bedroom, so we're not really like confined to like needing a studio space, so we can record and write whenever we want.
Synths. I actually, very early on, when I was still seriously learning guitar, got heavy into synthesizers and synthesis in general. This is my favorite synthesizer of all time, and I'm very lucky to have it. It's a Juno 106, and it sounds beautiful all the time. I can actually demonstrate. She's a beauty, and as with most of my instruments that I've collected, kind of has a personality of its own. I don't know if you could hear, but it's very hissy in the pots. So it just adds, I guess, a different flavor to any of the music that I make with it. And it just so happens that I've also used this on pretty much everything I've ever made that has a synthesizer. This is probably on it. This is my guitar. I've had this for a few years now. I was very lucky to get it from a family friend. It's a 1965 Fender Stratocaster, and I pretty much do everything with this guitar. Never lets me down. It's always my favorite sound. And I got that running into a 1970s Champ amplifier. Got a little pedal board with some phaser, overdrive, fuzz, chorus, delay, and some reverb. What does music mean to me? I think honestly a lot of people would get deep with that question. For me, I think it's one of those things where it's very fundamentally changed my direction as like a person. And so while I don't think that I'm destined or that I was born to play music or anything like that, I think it definitely took me from, going down a little bit more of an unbalanced type of life. Up to high school, I wanted to be in the military, I wanted to be in the Air Force, etc. And when I got really into music, it kind of gave me an alternate route away from, aggression and violence and stuff like that, which I think is kind of like still very true today. It's like it's an output.
I think what's really beautiful is how subjective it is, because of what it means to him. It means something probably completely different to me. Like him, I was planning on going into teaching or the fire service. I wasn't planning on going to music school and meeting him and launching this kind of lifelong, hopefully lifelong path of supporting ourselves through music. But music foundationally is like why we live, why we breathe. Like there's never not a purpose for music, I think, and especially right now during a pandemic, 2020 election, I think that music has never been more important.
It's one of those things where life is definitely not as exciting when lived alone. And I think music is kind of the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really valuable for me personally, especially over the summer. I wrote about maybe like 30 different songs, and being stuck in my own head the entire summer, like alone in my apartment in New York, trying to avoid getting sick. You kind of just get like an echo chamber, and having like outside input, is really, really important and valid, I think, as a creative and as an artist, because, I can't criticize or I can't come up with thoughts that I can't come up with. I can't be a different perspective. It's just me. So his input, I think, whether it be on the drums or on synths or, singing or whatever it is, the most important thing I think is to have another person, another perspective in the music. So it's not just, a whole lot of me.
It feels selfish in a way to do it all, kind of, not all of us can be a Kevin Parker or, so we kind of come together to try to be that one person, that one mind, the hive mind. I think it's the most beautiful, invisible unifier of the world, is how I see music.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something special about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space.
Hey, I'm Shane Dillon,
I'm Keely,
I'm Michael.
and we're So Love.
and this is Off the Record.
Of touch, and it's not because I didn't know much. See, I just knew too much. Does that make me